For about 4 years I've been trying to figure out Isaiah's key to his meter. During that time, while trying to do something else, I stumbled across how God orchestrates time. That he does it from Adam's fall, that he does it in 490-year increments. There's a sidebar in the video description to mirroring HTM, which goes through it. It's a very long doctrine. It's in the Bible. I don't know how Christianity missed it for so long, but the Jews forgot about it too. Their calendar is off as a result of that. God has a way of dating things that scholars have routinely ignored. And it's caused no end of problems, people thinking the Bible's wrong and all that, and it's really silly. Isaiah is using God's orchestration of time rules to craft the meter in his poem, in his verses. It's not really a poem. It's just metered verse. And of course, Isaiah's versification is not like ours. And what Isaiah does is he follows God's orchestration of time rules. The number 7 is a number of promise. The idea of promise being fulfilled, God will keep his promises. And that is the core structure of Isaiah's meter. What he does is he takes a concept, which in our versification might be 1 or 2 verses, and he uses just enough syllables to make it evenly divisible by 7. And Matthew 1 and Luke 3 pick up on that. Genesis 5 is a roster. The purpose of all those begats is to show you that God kept his promise about delivering Messiah. The word Genesis means the origin of the man, namely Christ. It's a Greek term. And that's what Genesis 5 is all about, is to show that this 490-year system of God's granting time got met. Matthew picks up on that. Luke picks up on that. And what I didn't know until last night, by accident, yeah, right, there are no accidents in the Christian life. What I didn't know was that Isaiah is using that system, and Matthew and Luke are playing on Isaiah. Now, you've seen in front of the screen this marked up sheet of paper, which is really the last page in Isaiah 53 RTF, which is the parsing of Isaiah 53 in Hebrew. That RTF parsed it, and it didn't parse it right. It's okay through 52:15. But after that, there are some changes. So what you see in front of you is you can click on Isaiah 53 JPG to get a better looking page. I reparsed it. It's tentative, probably close to correct. And what I need to do now is go back to the drawing board, because the whole purpose of the videos was to read aloud Isaiah's meter so you can see the parsing. And since I've got to change it, I've got to refigure out how to pronounce the words, because it's not like modern Hebrew at all. There is more to the story, however. But first let me explain about how you can tell that Luke and Matthew are playing off Isaiah. Isaiah 52:13 and 14. The number of syllables is 42. That is equal to 3 14s. And that's what Matthew uses in Matthew 1:17. Matthew is playing Genesis 5 roster. He's selecting the highlighted individuals who carried the line forward. And, scholars, because they don't think, or they're too harried or too, involved in politics, there's been a lot of criticism of Matthew 1:17, because they're expecting Matthew to do a straightforward parent-by-parent genealogy. No, he's selecting. And that's what happens in Genesis 5 also. But the question is, why did he pick 14, 3/14? Well, he picked it because Matthew's job was to show the derivation of the Jewish Messiah. And the decree for that derivation and its outcome is in Isaiah 52:13 and 14, 42 syllables in Hebrew. So Matthew's playing off the Hebrew of Isaiah 52:13 and 14. That's all one unit in Isaiah's Hebrew. Now Luke's job, by contrast, is that he's writing to the Gentiles. Theophilus is a straw man name, lover of God. Anybody who's reading it that is a lover of God. It's not to a particular person. And Luke is therefore focusing on Isaiah 52:15, which point in the Hebrew is 77 syllables. So that's why Christ is the 77th son from Adam in Luke's genealogy. Luke is tracing out Mary's line. And both Joseph's and Mary's line cross at Zerubbabel through Nathan. So that is why Luke does that. And of course 7/7 is hypostatic union, doubled sevens. And that's 14. So Luke is playing on Matthew and on Isaiah. So that's a threading. That's one of the threading techniques to prove the divinity of what Luke is writing. He's not using other sources. He's getting it straight from the Holy Spirit. And the rhetorical device he's using is to point back to Isaiah for the Gentiles 52:15. At which point you've got 77 syllables. Now you can see, in the Isaiah 53 JPG, the rest of the parsing of the syllables for the rest of the chapter. I don't want to go into that here. But what I want to stress is, first of all, David died when he was 77, not 70. 1 Kings 6:1 says so. So Luke is also playing on that because, the tie to Messiah, to fulfill the prophecy to the Gentiles, in Isaiah 52:15. Luke is stressing that also. Christ died for all mankind. That's the point. The bigger issue has to do with Isaiah's number of syllables at the end of the chapter, which is 469, as you'll see in the JPG. I think that's supposed to be 7 syllables more, because there are 3 verbs and 1 noun in the LXX that are missing in the Hebrew, and we know Hebrew text is missing in Isaiah 53:10 and 11. One of the nouns, light, which in Hebrew is or and in Greek is phos, is in the Isaiah scroll but not in the Masoretic text. There's a big gap in the Isaiah scroll, so we know the text is missing. That's what a scribe was supposed to do. And the 3 verbs that are missing are in the LXX, but not the Hebrew. Kataritze, which in Hebrew would be tacher, letacher really. Aphelin, which is at the end of 53:10 in our text, but really belongs to 53:11 in the LXX. And the Hebrew verb for that is sur, with the summix. And the 3rd verb that's missing in the LXX is plaso, and in the Hebrew would be yatzer. Those are very common verbs in the OT, the Greek being used for those Hebrew words. Sur happens to be one of Isaiah's favorite words. He uses it 25 times. Yatzer and then taher he only uses once. And they got to be verbs. I think that there's 7 syllables missing. I think they're missing in Isaiah 53:11. Possibly 10 would contain some of them. It's possible that up to 21 syllables are missing, but I think I understand Isaiah's accounting. But he's balancing his meter to 490. And then he's debiting like God will later do in Daniel 9, because this debiting was known in Isaiah's day. Daniel isn't getting new information, he's just getting God's accounting of how God can justify restoring it. So Daniel 9 therefore ties retroactively to Isaiah also. These would be pretty big theological things to cover. And of course, Christianity doesn't even know about God's orchestration of time. So I've got to kind of go back to the drawing board on Isaiah 53 and make sure I know of the parsing and how Isaiah did it before I can continue. Sorry for the delay.